Hi guys, welcome back to my Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Another day, another interview. And today I'm really delighted to have Christina Glazar with me. Christina has, like all my guests, gone through a journey that she never dreamt about when she was younger. Yet she has come out the other end as a new and improved version, as a stronger woman, as a lioness, as one of my previous guests called herself, because you find yourself in places that are not pretty, and you learn to take action. You learn to focus on what is really important, loving yourself, and then moving forward to create a new future. And Christina has exactly done that. And I'm dead excited to have her on my show so that we can explore her life and the lessons she has learned that she is now teaching her clients. Christina, welcome to my show. I'm so honored to have you on board.
Thank you, Stefan, and thank you for this lovely introduction. I'm all yours.
No, and it is what it is. It is you. Right. You didn't intend to be the girl that you are now. You are exactly. When you were younger. Let's say you were 18. What was your vision then? What was your dream? What did you think you would become when you grow up?
I wanted to be free and an adult because my father was an alcoholic. And that was the worst time in our lives. So every evening, and I still believed in God back then, I prayed, please, let that pass. Let him stop. Let me grow up that we can kick him out and that I can take care of my family. That was my only goal at that age. That's pretty much it.
And that is a very strong driver. How did you go about it? How did you go about to plan that freedom? Were there things you were able to do when you were living under these circumstances?
Well, unfortunately, as I was a teenager, I started partying, doing kind of things my father did. I drank a little too much too often. I didn't study enough for school, all this kind. I wasn't really a naughty girl. I was still a good girl, but I did things that weren't good for me. And I hid it from my mother, telling her little lies where I was going, where she didn't have any means to control me, what I was doing. And I rationalized it with telling myself, I'm protecting her. That's all I do. And I think it was my outlet to forget what's at home. And I had a very low self-esteem. So drinking freed me up to be gutsy, courageous. And that's where the title is coming from, Sober is Sexy, because I thought at that time, when I'm tipsy, I'm cute, I'm attractive, because then the boys flocked to me. But obviously for other reasons than I thought back then. That was kind of my coping mechanism. Not the best one, but it got me through my teenage years and an incredible, strong mother who gave us some basic stability, enough food, clothing, all that stuff you really need, and enough love. That's why I was a productive adult, or turned into a productive adult as I was 20.
Wow. You were, to a degree, lucky, because that was only a period of maybe 5 years in which you sort of acted out, in which you sort of, in where you hid from the reality by using alcohol and by going out there. That the same crutch of alcohol can be very powerful. And can be there for many people. Many people don't see the light really until they hit their late 30s, 40s, even 50s. So
I was very lucky because I never did really drugs because I was too scared to get addicted by it. I thought I had kind of that thing in my mind to take one-time heroin and you're hooked, this kind of thing. So I never did that. And drinking, I didn't do it enough because I was worried I could cross the line, as you know.
And that's the interesting thing, because you saw it at home, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a bit of a conflict of interest there, isn't it?
A huge one.
My kids were certainly very adamant when I stopped drinking, and we then did the amends when I started talking to my teenagers about why I was drinking, all the emotional things that happened, etc. They were very clear they will never, ever, ever drink. Now, in reality, my oldest one is 19 now, and he is having the odd beer, but he's certainly not using it as a crutch. He's certainly not using it for negative ways. My youngest one is 17, turning 18, and he is adamant that he will not drink. And so, yet, I can very much see how you, as a teenager, found that drink and suddenly found the release, the forgetting.
I didn't really, I didn't, it was unconscious to release. For me, it was like I had two girlfriends, best girlfriends, and they were kind of low self-esteem too, but for other reasons, they were just young teenagers. So I was the leader of this mini group. So whenever we went out to a bar, which you can do at 17, 16, or could do already at, in Switzerland, nobody controlled that. You could, as soon as you could peek over the bar, you could order a drink, right? It was like that. Yeah. I think they changed it a little bit meanwhile. So when we went to the bar, none of us dared to go in. But if I had a drink, I went in, So it was the self-esteem thing. It freed me up for that. And of course, it let me forget. And I was traveling in a circle of other teenagers who were all coming from working class families. And I think most of them had similar problems at home. So you kind of got attracted to the same circle of people.
And it's something that still strikes me. Maybe it strikes me how lucky I was that I myself and the immediate circle of friends were not exposed to abuse in childhood. And yet, when I talk to my guests, there is such a huge prevalence of abuse in their younger years. It is extremely scary. I was always shaking my head when I looked at America and at the figures there with regards to the incidence of women being sexually abused or raped, which is huge, like 1 in 5, 1 in 4, depending upon the circumstances. And I thought, for crying out loud, the girls that I met, there was, to the very best of my knowledge, there was not such a thing happening. Yet, I think I was just only lucky that whilst I come equally from a very poor working class background, I didn't have that. There was nothing there. And certainly the women that I dated down the line were not affected by that, because you get to know each other and sooner or later you talk about such things. And no, I think I was just so lucky. And
it wasn't so much, it's more the abuse. It was men and women equally, around these teenagers, and just the alcoholism of parents in itself, that they were neglected emotionally, this kind of stuff. And it was more some of the girls that might have, but you didn't talk about it at that. I just knew about myself, but not about what was happening in other families. And sorry.
No, same.
I'm a chatterbox.
Same with me. And we both have got our experiences, and that is so beautiful. And I guess that I wrote in my book, My Steps to Sobriety, there's a chapter in there about the silent generation. And with the silent generation, I don't refer now to the people who were born after the Second World War, which typically is called the silent generation, but I'm referring to children from alcoholic families, which have learned to be silent. They came home, they never knew what was waiting for them. Is daddy happy, or is mummy about to have a hissy fit? Will they be drunk?
Hissy
happy?
Fit.
Yeah,
Hissy.
it is.
I love that word. I'm sorry, hissy.
It is. No, it is.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Yeah.
So, and then later on, we know that children from alcoholic families will have much greater difficulties in adult life because their trust system is completely damaged. There were so many times that they asked daddy, oh, can we do on the weekend X? And daddy was saying, oh yeah, and then he was pissed on the weekend.
It never happens.
That's right. So they are used to people lying to them, and they're expecting that from people. And then they're expecting abuse to a certain degree. And when then no abuse happens, they think, what the hell? Hang on. No, I can't trust you. I can't trust you.
I need it.
It sounds so bizarre.
It is. I'm lucky in that aspect. I knew what to expect when I came home from school because of my mother. I had this stability all my childhood. And I honestly, looking back, I think I never missed my father. We would have done much better without him at any stage in my memory. So I don't feel deprived. The only time when I'm reminded that it would have been nice to have had that is when I had a wonderful father-in-law. And he represented what I never had in my life. And I could imagine, it would have been nice, or fathers of my best girlfriends. I was always attracted to their fathers when they were funny and paid attention to their daughters, because my father paid the wrong attention to me, or none at all. But other than that, I didn't really miss that because we got so much love. So in that aspect, I'm extremely lucky.
How did your mum gain the strength to be there as a pillar of strength for you?
Yeah, I sometimes wonder myself. I think it's her history, maybe. She was born 1932 and she's from Germany. She grew up in Bavaria in a small village with tons of children. And she experienced at least the last years of the war consciously. She was 14, I think, when the war ended. And she couldn't get an education because of the war. She couldn't travel anywhere because of the war at the young woman, because nobody wanted the Germans. The only place she could go was Switzerland, and she only could be a maid there, a servant. And to come to Switzerland, she had to undergo demeaning health inspections, this kind of thing, because they didn't want any sicko Germans in Switzerland. And that's why she kind of ended up with my father, because she wanted a family. She wanted a healthy family. She wanted love. She wanted children. And that's how it happened. And she worked really hard before she got married in those households. They had one day off, always serving, cleaning toilets for other people. I can't even imagine. And I think that made her incredibly strong. And it's a core of her. I have the same core in me. It's hard to explain. She was hard to defeat, and as she had children, that was her strength. That what made her life. She poured everything of her in us. which was good for us, not so good for her. But I think that's why she made it through it. She just couldn't quit because of us. And she had moments, she told me that later. But it's amazing. I went through similar stuff as an adult woman without children. Just adding a bunch of kids to it, I don't know how you do that, honestly.
My heart goes out to her. And that was the story for so many German children, teenagers, young women out there, because you have perfectly reflected on what their life was. They were innocent. They were innocent. They were not Nazis. They were not any label that you want to give people from around that time, but they had to pay the price.
The price. Yeah. You're right.
So where did the money come from, may I ask, when you were younger? What did your dad do? Where did the money come from?
My dad, so I left my home at 20, and my parents got divorced as I was 22.
Right.
My dad, the last decade of the time we were all together, he was a chauffeur. He was driving for a company delivering wool, fabric stuff. He was a driver.
And half of the time.
Half of the time, all the time, and that last
all the time.
God. It's kind of but he never had an accident.
Good. He should have never driven sober, because he probably would have had an accident then.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Oh dear.
And my mother, of course, worked. She was a cleaning woman. She worked in the evening from 5 to almost midnight to provide, because what he made wasn't enough. He was stable in the past, in the last decade of their marriage, with the income check. Before he wasn't, he constantly changed jobs, but the last decade it didn't happen anymore. He got older and sicker, so he couldn't do that anymore so well.
And that's normal. I mean, I'm talking in my book about all the impact of alcohol on the heart, on cancer, on all the other organ systems.
Yeah, I read the intro on Amazon of your book. It's really interesting, because you have a science background, so you can explain that really well.
Oh, and it is also, we are talking with your dad about a time when, for example, the people who were transporting the beer to the pubs, these guys were paid partially in money and partially in beer. So they had free beer, and that was the way they were basically drinking. They were driving their initially horse carriages, and then later their normal carriages, and they were there. Yeah.
I just was thinking about my great-grandfather. My father comes from a long line of drunks. So his father was a drunk. It's repeating history. It runs in families, right? So my great-grandfather, my family is from Graubünden. I don't know. It's a mountain, Grishuna, a mountain part of Switzerland. And it's from Bergün. That's a tourist destination now. And that was just a little stinky dot between high mountains. And he had actually a little hotel or restaurant there. That's what's the same, what I got told. And he had a horse carriage where he was in charge of transporting something. I don't remember what they told me, but he was constantly loaded. So he always drove down on the side of one of the bridges and everything fell. And it was a barricade, that they, in Roman language, they call it barricade or something. Yeah. So they called him Barricada Schmid. So Schmid is my maiden name. And he was the town drunk, essentially.
Oh dear. So there are some strong genetic influences there.
Yes, absolutely.
But I discussed it in a previous interview with a guest who researched the genetic makeup of his family because he was surprised about his own love to alcohol. So he went into his family history, his ancestry, and he came up with some very interesting revelations, so to speak. So I think you have pretty much established that A, from a genetic point of view, you were at risk, and B, from a upbringing. Because it doesn't matter how strong your genes are. If you're brought up and if you're guided in your life to live a life so beautifully gorgeous that alcohol simply doesn't have any place in there, then it's probably far less likely that you're gonna get drunk at some stage in your life. We know also with the timing when you start drinking alcohol. If by reasons whatsoever you only start drinking after the age of 25, again, it's much less likely that you will become a serious alcoholic compared with that when you start drinking at 16. So
it goes faster,
That's right. So the younger you are, the more you're prone to getting hooked, getting addicted on the dopamine high, or on the flip side, on the behavioral changes that make your life so much easier. So in other words, that you lose your shyness, the inhibition. Life is no longer as dreary and black.
No, it's fun. I remember exactly how I had my first experience with alcohol, at home. My mother thought, give her a sip, like many parents do. I think, honestly now, I think it's a bit controversial now. Parents think it's a controlled situation, but you never know. So I don't have children. I'm not an expert on it. But I liked it. It's sweet. It was sweet what I tasted. And alcohol is an acquired taste, the strong stuff. So I think I liked this taste. I liked how it made me feel. Yeah.
Absolutely. And please, let's, for some people, maybe the younger people listening in, for you, it might be strange that parents give you a drink. That was absolutely normal. That was absolutely normal. Alcohol.
Oh no, it wasn't strange to me. It wasn't strange to me.
And certainly in Europe, there is actually a relative healthy drinking culture. So it is not that alcohol is glorified, but it was ubiquitous. It was there everywhere. Every little village in the autumn has got its wine harvest, or celebrating the beer, or doing whatever. So there's the social life is often surrounding the seasons, and as such the drink. For example, there's in the Pfalz, in the part of Germany where I grew up, we had the wine festivals there all the time, along the River Rhine, and we would celebrate the new wine. So you would get this murky, strange liquid that was still bubbling and doing things.
Oh, really?
So the sugar had not yet completely converted to alcohol. So therefore it was sweet, it was bubbly, a little bit fizzy, and it was, oh dear, it was a headache in a bottle.
That is a headache in a bottle. I know the sweet German wines very well. Almost all of them are headaches in a bottle.
Oh, yes. Oh, and definitely. But come on, I need to defend a little bit the wine, because first of all, the wine that you guys get out there, for example, in the UK, the Liebfraumilch and the Blue Nun, etc.
Oh, they are the worst. Oh my God.
But let's be quite clear.
They're good wines,
Blue Nun, the real Blue Nun, I think they make about 5,000 bottles per year. And it's actually a superb dessert wine that you pay an arm and a leg for to get the real stuff. The shit that you get sold overseas as German wine.
Especially,
it's awful.
I know, it is awful.
Let's defend the wine for what it is. I was growing up. Sorry.
I have nothing against wine.
No, I know.
For me, it's a love. I still like it.
Huh.
I still have sometimes a colorful drink. I still have sometimes a glass of champagne. For some reason, I lost a palate for white wine. I used to like white wine. That was my favorite drink. But for some reason, I just don't like it anymore. Maybe because I don't do it often enough. I don't know.
Oh, please. It is, for me, it would just be one sip and
Yeah.
And then before
you
I
would
blink.
be very happy. Yeah,
oh, please. I would be very happy for a few hours, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't stop with one bottle. I would have the next bottle. And then I would put some lovely music on and I would watch YouTube videos and I would sing along and I would have a great time. And then for the next 24 hours, I would feel as if, oh, God, the hangover. Oh,
it's worse.
I mean, right now, what is it? It's 8:35. So I got up this morning at 7, had a nice shower, and now I'm ready to embrace the day, have a great interview with you. Please imagine even one bottle of wine. God, I would be a grumpy bear until at least lunchtime, probably until 6 o'clock tonight. And then I would be tempted to drink again. I would already be tempted at 12 o'clock because the eye opener, the hangover goes away after a glass or two of more alcohol. Right. So I immediately am back in that old time. So no.
Yeah, I think people don't understand, especially young people, that it's still fun, the drinking, where you enjoy it. They don't understand the danger to know when you cross the line and to know what happens to you. To make it very clear, I remember from my father, as he was really gone. He was really heavily addicted. I don't even know how to say that. If there are nuances, I don't know. We lived in a little townhouse at that time, and he was always the first up for obvious reason. He needed alcohol. So he forbade us to come down, but I'm an early bird too, so I always sneaked down and peeked into the kitchen, and there he was, barely able to bring up the bottle, so it was really bad. And if you keep that in mind, who wants to go there? Mm-hmm. No one.
So true.
So drinking in moderation, not constantly getting loaded. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
But that is the hard bit, the drinking in moderation.
Yeah,
it's very, very easy. Over here, they're the teetotalers. They're the guys who don't drink. Easy. Over there are the hardcore drunks like your father. Easy. So these are the easy ones. What about the 90% gray drinkers? And that's a very slippery slope there.
Yeah, so it's super slippery.
That's right. There's the mummy wine culture. Oh, look, it's the kids are coming home. Why don't I have a glass of wine or 5 at lunchtime with my girlfriends? Because I've deserved it.
A cocktail wife.
Cocktail, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Cocktail
That's
wife.
Right.
I like that.
So it's all that kind of thing. So that is that an alcoholic? No. I hold a job. I am a functioning mummy.
Yeah.
Sip. And yes, it is. It's interesting. I saw recently on the internet, how do you fool someone in the Zoom meeting? So there was this lady who had a cup, and she took a tea bag, cut off the tea bag, put it to the side, little bit of a Tesafilm, a little bit of tape. With that, she stuck the little dangly bit of the tea bag, so it came out of the cup. Then she filled the cup with white wine, but had that little dangly bit from the tea there. So she was drinking and sipping her white wine in the meeting, whilst everyone thought she is having a nice cup of tea there. Yeah, right. And that's an alcoholic in a nutshell.
Absolutely.
Perfect. That's absolutely perfect. That was me. Because I was a high functioning alcoholic. I had all the tricks, and it was just cool. The hiding, the hiding I had taken to such a level. That was
Oh,
master
you guys
level.
are good. I had
Hiding.
it's my hobby. Yeah, he was a high functioning one, and he took it to levels. And if I did find something, he's a brilliant speaker. He would rationalize it away and confuse me so much that at the end I felt okay.
That's right. Oh, wait, have a look here. I found that vodka in the garage. Oh, that was from last year.
Exactly.
No. See, I was, remember when I was so drunk last year? Yeah, I must have pulled that off and kept it there.
You did that too.
Do you know how you can recognize that an alcoholic lies? His lips move. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's lost in the translation. So every time an alcoholic opens his mouth, there is a half truth or a lie in there. Okay, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Bloody liars. We are hiders. We are who we are in active addiction. Like it.
Yeah.
So, and we create our world around that, and we make it so that it all looks normal towards the outside. And we make sure that the right Facebook pictures are there and the right I'm having fun pictures and I've got a brilliant life pictures. And then when
I see a lot of those where I sometimes think I know the lifestyle women I met, along the way since I'm in the United States. And with some I had happy hours, so I know their drinking habits. And the first thing they always say, oh, it's after work, Zoom, let's booze. And sometimes I get just water because I rarely have alcohol at home. I have to actively go out and buy something if I do that. And I like to have a glass, but especially in the evening, it keeps me up at night when it's so hot. So it doesn't do any good to my body with the sleeping and the sweaty feeling. I just don't like that. But I sometimes think it's kind of sad that you have to cope with the stress in your life that way, that you cannot just lean back or jump in the pool if you have one. Many of my friends have pools because they live in Arizona or here in California. Why don't you do that? But, I'm not them.
A while ago, I had some bad craving. I had a really shit day.
You still get them?
Oh, yeah. They're not as common, but they certainly, when they hit. It's a damn good wave of, oh, yes, I want that. And especially when I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So when I put two of them together, I might think about a drink. 3 of them together, 4 of them together. Oh, where's the wine? Come on.
Bring it.
I know. And it's just, but nowadays I know what triggers me. Nowadays I know that I have not paid attention to my basic needs, which then makes the little addict in my head come out and say, ooh, Lisa, your wife, she would never know. Come on, just 1 glass. And even if it's 3 glasses, come on, you've got that. And you have deserved it. Look at it. You had a shit day. You deserved it. Oh, you had a good day. Oh, you deserved it. You had a normal day. Oh, let's just reminisce about the good old times and have a drink. It's that kind of thing. It doesn't matter what day you had.
What? It was just like a playback, what I just had. Deja vu, because we have a friend, a really dear friend. He's now 73, has been sober for over 20 years. And he described it that way to me. He said, it's like having a little devil on your shoulder. Whispering in your ears, just one. It's no big deal. It's just how you described it.
It is like that for us. It is.
It's
it is
so
amazing.
Powerful.
Oh, please. And it can come at any time. When I wrote my book, I had some meetings with the boss of the rehab hospital where I once was admitted, Guy Smith. Guy, you're a great guy. You're a great man out there. If you're listening to that, you're my hero. So I had a meeting with him, and he described to me the story of another patient who had come through the rehab center. And this guy was a landscape gardener. So he did a lot of work out there. And this particular job that he was doing, he had to drive past this liquor store again and again in order to get from where he was working to the house that he was doing up. And out of nowhere, one day he stopped, went into the liquor store, and got himself some drink. And 3 weeks later, he was dead. Basically, he drank himself.
Oh my God! Yeah, I know a few of those.
And that was after many years of sobriety. That was after many years.
Yeah, it can happen at any. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and that's why I keep saying you need to work on your sobriety, because if you don't work on your recovery, you work on your relapse. That is, you have to choose relapse or recovery. That's our life. And it is a very active choice, because if I just let myself relax, suddenly there will be a day when I suddenly think, ooh, I could do with a drink. And it shows me that I have not done the homework. I have not paid attention. I have not loved myself. I have not taken care of myself. So these are so easy. So I mean, you have got such a strong history, such a powerful history, and to see you now going out there and actually making life better is so beautiful. And you are specializing in your work. You're specializing to help women or partners of alcoholics to live the life that they want to live. I think that is the right way of putting it.
Yeah,
because alcohol is one aspect of a journey, but there are many other aspects there. And I find that such a beautiful thing. When I read that about you, I knew I need to get you onto my podcast here to just discuss that. What made you, or when did you make that decision that you wanted to help others?
My husband got sober in 2010. And it was a rough time, to say the least. It was as the economy tanked. So we didn't have an income. That made it even harder. We didn't have health insurance and all the good stuff. And then about in 2013, I struggled too, to find myself again. I couldn't feel myself anymore. I got lost. And at some point, I thought, I have to do something with that. It can't be that I had a father and I experienced that and later on ended up that way, that this was all for nothing. So I essentially did it for me. I thought, I know so much about that stuff. And I know what you can do to make yourself feel better. Why not share that? And then I got the coaching certification because I needed to learn how to talk with people, how to guide people from A to B, in half an hour or an hour, because I can talk, I can listen and understand, but you have to have an outcome at the end of a session. And I needed to learn the technique. And I specialized in recovery coaching. It was essentially for recovering alcoholics, but it doesn't really matter. It just certified me and gave me some credibility, because the key ingredient that I bring to the table is really my personal experience, my story, and sharing what I did and give them ideas and options, what they can do. Go to Al-Anon or any other self-help group, Smart Recovery. I don't know if you heard about them. I think they're fantastic because they're not religious, not leaning on any religion. And all that stuff, because I remember as I went the first time to Al-Anon, it was incredibly hard. It was at the time where I had nobody else to talk, where I was really desperate. I just needed to get it out somewhere to belong. And it was like I had stones attached to my feet as I walked into that room. And once I was in there and it was my turn to talk, I thought I wouldn't say something because I always kept it to myself. But it was like a dam broke. Everything came out. I was crying, blah, blah, blah. But it was a relief. And I want others to understand it gives you relief if you go to a group and can share and then learn from others.
So for those of you who are listening in and who are new to recovery, Al-Anon is an offshoot of AA. AA is Alcoholics Anonymous, and Al-Anon is a group system which is designed for the loved ones that live with alcoholics. Right. Who have got their own burdens, who have got their own needs to understand, who have got their own frustrations. So therefore, they can be incredibly powerful, because if you think about it, 1 in 3 people have got a chemical addiction. And at least, we're talking at least 1 in 5 is using alcohol in a dangerous way. So if you now say 1 in 5, and that each of these 20% of the population has at least one significant other, then you're actually saying you're virtually half of the population is in trouble with regards to alcohol. Yet, if you look at the people who would say, or if you ask those people and say, look, have you had a chance to talk to someone about it? The vast majority will say no, because I'm so embarrassed, I'm so ashamed, I'm so guilty that I can't help my husband. I'm so I'm maybe codependent. They wouldn't use words like that, but that might be another. That would be another thing that is happening. So it is so many reasons are out there where people essentially not seeking the help that they deserve and that they maybe ought to, which would empower them to put boundaries down on the ground and
live a better life.
Correct. So
and it's free.
That's right.
I mean, that's key, because someone said once to me, only once in a blue moon does an alcoholic have health insurance.
Yeah, there's that. And
talking about extreme cases, who lost their jobs and everything.
So true. So Al-Anon is certainly one option. Now, again, I love it that you brought up the religious aspect. For some AA groups, religion is incredibly strong, and it's part of AA. And the original setup of AA was religious. Not that Bill Wilson was really a strong religious man, but he was a very good salesman. And it was in the 30s, 40s, where he essentially said, that's right. So how do you sell our system that we know works, but how do you actually bring it out? And he figured it, okay, if we actually talk in the language of God and bring it out there, this will be more likely to succeed. So that's the interesting little tidbit that not many people sort of know. Bottom line is, there are AA groups out there that are very religious. And if you are religious, bingo.
It's wonderful.
This is a match for you. If you're not religious, like me, I still went through AA and I still got a wonderful insight. It's a system that gets you better. My book, My Steps to Sobriety, in that I describe the system, but I take God out of the equation.
So, you do, right? Yes, I should buy that book. Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, exactly, because for me, God is a group of orderly drunks or a group of druggies. Okay? So, because it's the power. It's the power of the group around you, the power of the people who have learned skills to say no, who are now living a different life. And that's the power that you want to harness. This is, you can't get, it's very, very, very unlikely that you can get sober alone. It's possible, but the chances are stacked against you.
Yeah, they are slim.
But when you are with a life coach who is holding you accountable, when you find a mentor through AA, when you are working in a system like Smart Recovery or Women for Recovery or the many other systems that are out there.
You just have to find one that fits you.
Absolutely right.
Try it out, yeah.
Exactly right. There are groups that are specializing in LGBT. There are groups out there that are specializing in other subgroups. There is certainly Islamic systems out there. There are people in the Sikh community. I mean, Sikh in the UK.
Isn't that wonderful?
It is.
Because in the 70s, there was AA and Al-Anon. I didn't even know about Al-Anon.
Yeah.
And there was a teenager in the 70s. I didn't even know about them in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So, and it was a lot more shameful. Now they have commercials on TV, for heaven's sake. They didn't have that 15 years ago. I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how we need to do it. That's why I'm sitting here and opening my heart and my mouth so that people can see that an alcoholic can turn his life around with the right help and now go out there and hopefully turn the life of others around by sharing the stories. And that's right. And whilst I'm not, the giving back sounds corny to me, but I guess to a certain degree, it is what it is. It is.
It keeps you on track.
That's true.
You can't help somebody else if you are not taking care of yourself. And
that's true.
I tell you something, it might surprise you. Early on, my husband took me to 2 open meetings of AA and some gatherings they had, what they do. And those 2 meetings helped me more than Al-Anon. And I tell you why. It gave me hope.
Right.
Because there were so many who stood up. I have 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. That gave me hope. You saw this really broken people in there who were struggling, were holding with their fingernails onto sobriety. And then there were others who were on the other side and shared their story, and that helped me.
So beautiful. And the white necklace, I call the guys who are holding on to, I don't need to drink, but I need at least two meetings a day so that I don't drink, because they actually haven't done the homework, so to speak.
Right,
they haven't delved into the reasons why you drink. They haven't looked at those kind of things. So true. So guys, I guess the one big lesson out of that is there are actually a lot of resources out there.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people out there who have been exactly in your shoes and then some, okay? You think you've got it bad? It doesn't matter what you're going through. When you come into rehab or when you come into groups and listen to what people have been doing around you, you just sometimes think, oh my God, have I been lucky? And that was exactly with me. I was resentful to the nth degree. I was so bad. And I was angry that all the things that had happened to me, it was all about me, poor me, another one. So it was that kind of thing. And then my case manager gave me a book to read, Rise Up, something like that. The book was written by a lady whose husband was not a nice man and whose husband decided to kill the lady's father and her children there in the driveway with a knife in front of her eyes. And I read that and I thought, oh my God, how can you live? And then I immediately compared it with what I was going through, and I thought, I better keep my mouth shut here, because that is something else. And this was the first time that the selfish me, the selfish, self-centered, nearly narcissistic me got the wake-up call to actually say, wow, okay, yes, you have got some bad things happening in your life, but Let's actually put it into perspective. And that was a very important thing for me to do, to step outside of myself and start that journey of mindfulness, of looking what is happening, where your emotions are coming from, but looking from outside, from here, having the camera up there and looking, okay, why are you angry? Why are you feeling the way you're feeling? And that was only happening really during rehab, when people out there helped me to deal with the shit that I was going through and helped me to explore what was going on. And for that, you need help. For that, you need need people like Christina. You need people like Al-Anon. You need people who have been there, who truly hand on heart have been there. These are not people who, they just thought, oh, I fancy earning a bit of money as a coach. It's nice and hubbly-bubbly. And it's very rarely that these people are life coaches. People who are life coaches typically have gone through some tremendous trauma.
I honestly think you have to have some sort of personal experience with this kind of stuff in the field of addiction. And it doesn't matter if it's drugs or, whatever, that you really understand the person that sits in front of you.
So true. So true.
Because if somebody who has a happy marital life, never went through anything like that, and they say, oh, he drinks, go, leave. Why don't you leave? They have no clue. It's not that simple. So true. If somebody who left her husband and tells me why, because she went to this experience and what it took her to take that step, or in my case, why I stayed and what I did to make that work for me and him, then they believe me, because it's coming from my heart, it's coming from my own life. Otherwise, I tell you, as my husband was in the emergency room, as he got some help, a social worker came in and she said to me something like, he's very lucky to have you. That's very crucial to his recovery. And while that is true, probably, I just thought, F you, what about me?
What about you? That's right. That's so true, isn't it? That's so true. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that focus, because there may very well be people who are listening in now who are loved ones and who are listening to this podcast because they want to know, why the hell is my wife drinking so much? Why the hell is my father drunk? And if you look on Quora or other systems on the internet where people can ask questions, that is, again, why are they drinking so much? What can I do? My father is out of control. My husband is out of control. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the work that you are doing and the principles that you are instilling into your clients.
Well, first of all, and I think that's key, you eliminate the question why. There can be all kinds of reasons. You will never really know, even if you get sober. They have their reasons, and it's their journey, not yours. So just scratch that from your mind. You don't have to search for the why. You don't have to try to control the situation, because you can't. Whatever you do, if you stay at home all the time, he will drink and hide it. If you leave, he will drink and not hide it, and hide it before you come home. It doesn't matter. The only thing you can do is refocus on yourself and start your own healing. And then you do exactly what you described, what you did in your therapy, in your rehab. Explore yourself. Explore your dreams, your wishes, what you want from life. What stands in the way, what you can do to make yourself happy right now. Doesn't matter, regardless of what he's doing. I didn't do that, because you get so absorbed and dissolved into the world of addiction and trying to control your partner that you cease to exist. It's not about you anymore. And you are the victim, you are the personification of a victim. And everybody out in the world says, yes, you're a victim, you poor thing. And you have to learn to erase that, because you can turn it around and make yourself a hero, because you matter. And you have to learn that you matter, because your self-esteem is destroyed. You have to rebuild that. That's what I do with my clients. Like self-exploration, rebuilding your self-esteem, listing your dreams and wishes, finding things to do that make you happy, and build it into your life, regardless what he does, and regardless if you're going to leave or not. Because if you are leaving, you still have to heal. Otherwise, you take all your own dysfunctional behavior right into the next relationship, and you might end up where you were, with another man who has the same needs, who needs the same thing from you, supporting an addiction.
Oh, very good. Very good. I couldn't agree more. The other way around, or the thing to be said about this approach, is that you are leading by example, by looking after yourself. And certainly when I returned from rehab, I had learned new habits, I had learned new techniques, and I thought, wow, I'm the bee's knees, I'm good. And then I came home and I expected kudos, I expected here, oh, wow, Daddy, you got your shit together. And there was none of that, because they had no idea what I had done. They had no idea, because they were stuck in their rut. My wife was still struggling, didn't know where the money is coming from because I was in hospital. There were many other things that kept her busy. And so it was very, very bizarre for me I expected some kind of recognition, none of that. And I had to learn that talk is cheap, and that you have to walk the walk, that you really have to do living amends. You have to your actions need to speak, not your mouth. And so,
exactly.
And that is what was happening. But then, whilst my children and my wife didn't have the psychological teachings and support and things like that, they, however, saw how I changed. And they saw that I would far less likely fly off the handle, be angry, etc. I would be more humble. I would listen. And only then thereafter I would respond, and probably with far less venom and anger, but rather looking at what was said and why it was said. And that completely changed the dynamics. So by me learning about myself and changing how I respond, suddenly the people around me were listening up and were looking and were thinking, what the hell? And I was joking yesterday with another guest that it is very hard for my wife and me to have a row now, to have a fight, because we both have learned to listen. And we both are asking us, okay, what is he really saying? Or what is she really saying? And why is she really saying it? Okay, darling, are you hungry? Are you? That's fine. You haven't had breakfast, have you? Oh yeah.
I do that sometimes.
That's true. Shall I make you a breakfast? Come on, have a toast here. Okay. End of the fight. Or the kind of often enough is a classic. Since I know my wife, I would come home for a busy day at work. And I walk through the door, and I still have the hand on the handle of the door. And there she would be, blah, 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 blah. She would tell me every single problem that had occurred to her within a minute. Not for me to do something about it, just that she could unload.
To share. Yeah,
That's right, to share.
I was like that. Exactly. I know that.
And that immediately, I've just come from so many problems, and I opened the door and woof, there's like a wave coming out of the house of problems. And I thought, oh my God. And nowadays, what happens? I come home, I kiss my wife, and more often than not, I say, look, I just go upstairs and lie myself down or go to the gym. That's right. Give me 10 minutes. And then we're talking. And she says, okay. And
now you understand.
Exactly. But that time I have calmed down. And I come down, okay, now tell me. You know what happened today. And then she says, and that's beautiful. And then and she understands that I'm a fixer, a doer. So she understands.
Men usually are,
and that's fine.
I know.
And I understand that she is a sharer. So here I am. And sometimes I find myself I want to do things, and I have to stop her and say, darling, do you just want to tell me that? And you're quite happy to deal with it yourself? Or would you like me to take that on? And by just
it's
asking...
It's good you ask that,
Absolutely,
that helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and she said, no, I don't want you to do anything. You're so busy. No, but I want to share with you.
Yeah, we are not mind readers. We have to clarify situations, right?
What am I doing? I'm analyzing my own emotion, because immediately my emotion is, I'm getting anxious. I want to do things. I want to be a manly man, solving. That's right, fix it. I'm a fixer. So I want to do that. And in the past, we would have had a row by now, because I would immediately try to fix it. And she would be upset because I'm not listening to her. She just wants to share. She just wants to vent. Complete different agendas here. But because we have now recognized that, how we tick, no more row. So no more fight. So it's bizarre. From a couple that was constantly either making wild, passionate love or ripping each other's hair out, the opposite. It's just, that was the two versions that we had. We had roller coasters, emotional. Wow. Nowadays, we are just so different.
It's more balanced. You know what? I think it's also very important to understand that once your partner goes into recovery, that everything is going to change. It's not the same anymore, because most women expect everything is wonderful, peachy, and we are happy forever after. And that's just not going to happen. You have to give each other time to heal, to go your own road. And sometimes it takes a long time to come together again, that you are traveling the same path. But first you have to figure out yourself and what your journey is before you can go together again. And then you have to go with a lot of small stuff that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? The little stuff. So I had to learn that the hard way, I like to control my environment.
Give us some examples, Christina.
Yeah, I have German blood. I like to order around me. My husband is the total opposite. He's a slob in my eyes. So he walks around, he leaves drawers open, the cupboards, and it drove me nuts. And it drove me nuts for years. And I couldn't wait. I knew if I get up and close it and he sees it, it pisses him off. It annoys him. So I was sitting there waiting until he left the room that I could really quick close it. And then eventually it becomes such an overwhelming urge to do that. You can almost not control. It's like getting a drink if you need one. It's so strong. And eventually I realized I have to let go for my own sake. I'm still not perfect, but I have gotten a lot better. And that's usually just a little stuff in our relationship that I learn to let go or not react right away, things like that.
I think...
And it's my peace, it's for my personal peace too. It's selfish. I do things for myself to feel good.
I think we have got the same, just other way around between Lisa and me,
Mm-hmm.
and we are making jokes out of it. I don't know why. There's one corner kitchen cabinet that I do not close. I cannot explain why. It is just one of them that keeps open, and it is my wife. Just we both look at each other. We laugh about it because it is just such a weird thing. But we choose our battles. Yeah,
you have to. You
exactly.
got to. I mean, that's in every marriage. You have to do that, but more so when you're in this type of relationship. And humor is a great way to let tension go. That's a great way if you can do that. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah.
And it's remember, there's also the Stephen Covey's concept of the emotional bank account, that you can't always take out in a bank account. You actually have to put something in. Yeah. So therefore, if I have just washed up, stacked the dishwasher, have cleaned the oven down, and then the cupboard is open, well, darling, get a grip. Okay, I have just done all the other thing. So choose your bloody battle. But I have paid into the bank account because I have actually done things. Okay, exactly. If I would have been sitting on the couch with my hands in my trousers like and a wife beater shirt on and say, "Bring me another beer," I don't think
wife beater shirt.
You know these kind of white things there. Oh yeah. No. If then that cupboard becomes a trigger. So it's all put it into perspective. So
exactly.
And for Christ's sake, when I was still drinking, I was a man who felt that I was disrespected. My kids don't respect me. They don't wash up. They are, and it was a bone of contention for me. Well, maybe I did not deserve the respect with the way I was behaving. And if you start loving yourself, if you start working on yourself, helping yourself, looking after yourself, suddenly you become a different person and people start respecting you because of the boundaries that you have set for your own life. And that is not common that people do that. And therefore, if you suddenly model that behavior and say, I'm looking after myself now, then you actually gain respect from the people around you, regardless who they are. Even if it's your partner who is still in the alcoholic haze, the moment you start respecting yourself, loving yourself, helping yourself.
It's a game changer.
Absolutely. The dynamics change completely.
Yeah.
And that's
beautiful. And you can see that everywhere in life. I changed my whole circle of female friends, except for the ones in Switzerland, my Thais there, who are my best friends, because I had very, very poor boundaries. I had people always coming to me who had huge problems, or they only came to me when they had a problem, because I'm a good problem solver. I listen, and I have something that they respond to me that makes them happy when they are with me. I don't know how to explain that. So they hang out with me on Zoom or whatever, and then they go away really energized and feel good about themselves. And therefore I attracted all these women. And eventually, and that just in recent years, I learned that to do that with my world. I realized that it gets me down. Because it drags you down if they only want to talk with you because something really bad happened in their life. And then you listen to them and encourage them. And it gets a little old all the time. And then you think, where am I? So I really changed it. And there are a lot of party girls among them where I can't take that anymore because I changed and they didn't. I think that's the best way to put it. So I set boundaries and attract now other people who respect that a little more. It's kind of even, give and take.
And it's not selfish to do that. On the contrary, it's mandatory. It is crucial to your own survival that you put yourself first. Remember in the airplane, if there is an emergency, the oxygen comes down, the mask stop down. What do they teach you? Put the oxygen first on yourself. Yeah, that's right. First on yourself, then take the other one too. No, I'm kidding. No, first on yourself and then help the others. Who does that? No one. We are all the bloody heroes. We are all, here, I'm strong. No. You are strong if you look after yourself.
Don't you observe that on Facebook? Sometimes I find it amusing because I have a lot of females who are connected to me. So that they, especially now because of COVID in the United States, you're really all stuck at home, or should be. There are all these postings, about self-care. And then there are these questions. So what is your best quality? And then they list all their wonderful qualities. I'm a good listener. I'm always helpful, all that stuff. And I look at that and think, oh my God. You describe yourself as Saint Mary. And what does it get you at the end of the day? It's not real. I mean, you can be good. I help people. Hopefully they get something out of it. But they also want to get paid. Otherwise, I couldn't do what I do. You know what I mean?
So true. But it's all part and parcel of Facebook. You're feeding your own ego. You are basically, it's another way of putting a facade up, of putting a mask up. And it is, it's if you look at the pictures that those women post, they're probably all so like that, because they know that this is the nice side, and this is I swear.
Filters.
I know, absolutely. I swear there are girls out there who I've never seen the other side of their face. I'm not sure that they have another side, because that's always the first that I see. And for fuck's sake, honestly, let's get real. We are talking about real human beings here. When it comes to sobriety, those masks need to go.
They go down. Yeah, okay. They need to go. Absolutely.
So, because if you
it's all raw. At that point where it goes, it's all raw. It's about life, survival, and learning to be you again. Yeah. I think for both sides, whether you're the drinker or the one next to the drinker, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just a little bit harder for the drinker because he has to get rid of his biggest coping, whatever, thing, his best friend.
Oh, yeah. But equally, it's how many couples are out there where both of them are drinking? And where...
Oh God, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So there you are. So there might be one person who comes to his limits or her limits and say enough is enough. But then you've got the whole dynamic now of a partnership that is often built upon alcohol. And that can be in a nice way. For example, they share. I know a couple who had always one bottle of wine together in the evening when they shared dinner together. And he was an architect, and he was religious about it because he was celebrating his marriage with his wife. They were sitting down together, a bottle of wine together, dinner together, talking together.
That was what was wonderful.
Absolutely. But then the same guy broke his ankle. And so he had to be in hospital and had to have his ankle fixed. Now, that takes a few days. He, within 24 hours, ended up in a nasty, nasty delirium because his body...
He didn't realize.
That's right. He never drank more. They just literally one bottle of wine between the two of them. But that was their life for many years. That's right.
And that was enough to do that.
Wow. Absolutely. So, it is, you might not know that you're in trouble. That's right. Yeah. And it is, so therefore, it is the great drinkers out there that for them it is so difficult. Once you come to a scenario that is so painful and embarrassing out there that you really have to change, well, that's actually quite easy. That's rock bottom.
Yeah, he has no choice. Yeah,
that's right. But it's there in between, the gray zone, where you have choices. And it's hopefully there's a good reason that you guys are listening in here to that podcast or watching that YouTube video, because something tells you that something is not right. Otherwise you would have.
Something isn't, yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, maybe just listen to what Christina and I sort of are saying, and try to think: is my life really the life that I want to live, or is it time to redefine who I want to be, and what would be the steps that I need to take to become that new me? And I think that is so, so, so important. If once you come to that place in your journey, this is when miracles happen, because you have no idea where your life will go from there. But I can swear on my heart that your life will become better, richer, fuller, full of joy, full of such wonderful experiences that you couldn't even imagine right now. It will change. And there is a nice saying: the only thing that changes in sobriety is everything. Sobriety is a liberator.
I like that.
Yeah. It changes your life, and
people around you, for the people around you too. Yeah,
absolutely. So
and it's something positive. I want to also say it's something positive. It's not shameful.
No.
Because once you're in the grip of it, you don't. It's like an illness. That's controversial how you call it. Is it an illness or not? To me, it doesn't matter. Once it becomes chronic, you can't be without it. So you have to do something about it and not keep walking around with a broken leg, right?
So I just need to reach down. I hope I've got a DVD here. Yes, I have. This is here, DVD, Pleasure Unwoven. And that is by a gentleman, Kevin McCauley, who I have actually invited to come onto this show. Kevin is a wonderful, wonderful physician from the United States who has produced 2 videos about 10 years ago in which he is examining the alcoholism and what it does to people, and he explains it in beautiful, simple terms. And one of his videos is focusing specifically on the question: is alcoholism a disease? Spoiler alert, it is. And he will explain it in perfect words that are far more eloquent than I can do. So therefore, I'm trying to get him onto the show, and just I contacted him and I'm waiting to hear back. It will be absolutely beautiful and amazing, because this man has been on his own journey, and he was the first doctor, apart from myself, that I heard was in trouble. Nowadays, I know that there are many of my colleagues.
Oh, I know one. I have a girlfriend. Her husband is a psychiatrist, and he's a recovering alcoholic. And his specialty is now working with alcoholics, recovering alcoholics. So he specializes in it. He's from Pakistan originally.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
We need to talk after that interview here. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, guys, this is a complete different story that is beyond today here, because we are soon sort of wrapping up. You spent an hour with us here on our podcast. You guys are gorgeous. That obviously we ring a bell with you, and that's really, really important. So bottom line is, we'll talk about the other things in another interview. Christina, if people feel a link with you, they feel that, wow, I really want to work with Christina, how can they get hold of you?
It's very simple. I have a webpage where all informations are on it, all my links to my social media profiles. And you can either just type in ChristinaGlazar.com or checonnect.com. It brings you to the same page.
Beautiful.
Very easy.
Beautiful. And guys, we've got the description of, we've got a link down in the description of the YouTube and of the podcast. So just click on it and see if you can make maybe an initial call with Christina and explore where do you want to go. Even if Christina is not your cup of tea, think who else can help you.
Right.
If you're living in a bit of a larger town, there might very well be an Al-Anon meeting. There might very well be an AA meeting. There might be another recovery, smart recovery. There's so many things out there.
They go online now. They are all online now, the meetings, so you can go there too.
Yeah. Having said that, there is something to be said, actually, feeling the weight on your shoulders, literally actually walking into a meeting. That is an experience that is unique. So actually you making the effort and attending such a meeting and just listen and literally look at the people around you, that can be incredibly powerful. Yes. It's a different thing. Looking here at the screen looks a bit like telly. I'm watching telly here. In reality, I'm talking. I've got a great meeting with Christina here. But it's one thing to sit in your own bedroom having the pajamas on, and watching something versus actually going to a meeting. So once COVID has calmed down,
at least go in person.
That's right. Yeah. So it is very empowering, and therefore I don't want to take that away from you. Having said that, you don't need to wait until COVID is finished. You don't need to wait until isolation is finished. On the contrary, right now you might be at a point that you want help, that you need help, and that you're ready for help. Well, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Here we are. Right. Today, one teacher has appeared in the form of Christina. There might be also now the willingness by yourself to find other teachers. Listen to that voice. Go out there. Find someone that holds you or who holds you accountable and who supports you and to guide you, because he or she has been there and now wants to share the techniques and the skills for you to find yourself, to set boundaries, to find out how to love yourself.
Nicely said.
Oh, Christina, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, please. It was a great interview. I'm very, very grateful, humble that you spent that time with me and that
of course, anything to get the word out.
Absolutely. So we are here to make this world a little bit better, one interview after the other. So thank you so much, Christina, for your time. And you guys out there, thank you so much for listening in. If you liked what we were talking about, press the subscribe button down there. Tell your friends about this resource. Tell your friends about the podcast, the YouTube channel. If you like me, look up my steps to sobriety on Instagram, where there's basically a morning message coming out. So here you go. There's so many things how we can connect and how we can make this a bit of a better world. So bring these figures up there, the likes and the subscribes, because that means that the Facebook algorithms, etc., will be more likely to pick up what we are doing here. So yes, your help can help us to help others. Cool. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Look after yourself. Bye.